Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of Auto Connect, and as usual, Auto Connect is that channel that will guarantee you an alluring motor vehicle experience. Now, car prices in the Kenyan car market space have been on an upward trajectory, making locally used vehicles an affordable alternative to many. And that is why this Sunday on Auto Connect, we are having a very interesting discussion about a car that you can get for less than 500,000 Kenya shillings. A forgotten legend. And today we are unearthing why this car was actually a legend of its time. A car that was elegant, comfortable, luxurious, and also a performer. I'll be taking you through this episode, and we are filming this at our new pre-purchase inspection center along the northern bypass just next to Washaki. I'll be your host, Eric Okabi, Eric with a CK, and you can follow me at a personal level on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. With 500,000 Kenya shillings, you can be able to get yourself a 2002 Toyota Mark II Grande, and to be specific, the GX110, or if it comes with the engine that this particular one comes with, the GX110. This car is a forgotten legend because during its time, it was one very classy vehicle, a performer, one that was very reliable, and that one that was also very comfortable. In fact, the comfort levels in the Toyota Mark II can still rival some of the modern cars that we have in the market today. It's a car that will give you a very rare cocktail of performance, reliability, comfort, class, and elegance, and also very good handling on the road. It's also very stable and generally a safe car that you can get at a very good budget. Today on Auto Connect, we want to talk about this car, talk about why it's so reliable, get to talk about the engine, and also, since we are at our pre-purchase inspection center, tell you what to check when you're buying this car in matters engine, transmission. Also, because of its legacy of comfort, we are going to remove the tires and try to study its suspension, try to show you why this car was so comfortable and up to date. It will still rival most modern cars. It also has a very luxurious interior that we are going to show you, and at the end of the day, we are going to have a verdict on why this is the ultimate car if you're looking at a budget of around 500,000 Kenya shillings, if you're looking for luxury, performance, reliability, and ease of maintenance. And on this episode, I'll be joined by our friend Moses, who is a very exposed technician who knows what he does. He knows his craft very well, and this is going to be a very interesting conversation, so do stay tuned to this episode. So Moses, karibu sana. So what we have today is the 1GFE engine. Yes. And we start with the basic layout. The basic layout, it's an inline 6. Meaning it has 6 cylinders
in a straight line.
In a straight line.
Yeah.
So most of the guys who are watching do not know the difference between a V6 and inline 6.
Okay. In an inline 6, we have two types of engines.
Yes.
We have a few. We have several engines. We can have inline V.
Yes.
I hear there are some others, Ws.
Yes.
And there's the rotary one.
Yes.
But here what we have is an inline 6. So basically it's a straight line. Pistons ziko arranged on a straight line. A V engine will have a V layout, V-shaped layout.
Yes.
So while you stand in front of your vehicle, you're going to notice that you have V layout.
Yes.
For this one, it's a straight engine.
Straight engine,
yeah.
And you see, I told you guys that this is an ancestor or a predecessor to the Mark X. And that the Mark X has a V engine, but this one has a straight 6 engine.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the engine, you can see Beams 2000. You know, Mose, most people, when we were growing up, these were some of the best engines. But most people did not know what Beams 2000 meant. So Beams 2000 meant breakthrough engine with advanced mechanism system. And then 2000 stood for the 2 liter.
2 liter,
and
2000 cc.
2000 cc. The Beams family of engine, there was the 1G and there was also the 3S.
3S.
3S, eh? And this engine is known for one thing, and that is why it's used on this car. It's very reliable. And this brings us to the topic. Now, with this inline 6 engines, they were mostly used on vehicles that were either performance-oriented vehicles or comfort-oriented models.
Yeah.
So with this vehicle, when you're driving a Mark II, you barely even feel the vibrations.
Yes. The balancing.
Yes.
The balancing. You see, having a straight engine, an inline 6, what the guys on the design aspect, what you're pushing for is low-end torque. Low-end torque means you have high torque at very low revolutions. So you can find that this vehicle has very high torques and it's doing around 2000 revs per minute. Okay?
Yes.
So that one maintains the vibration. The engine, it's like it's operating at idling.
Yes.
And again, keeping constant torque on the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is why this car has so much punch. In fact, guys who have driven the Mark II, they can attest that it's quite powerful. The funny thing about Toyota Mose is, you see how big this engine was? It only produced, depending on the variant, it only produced between 130 horsepower to I think around 155, and on the higher performance models 180 horsepower.
Yes.
If it was a modern engine, you would give this car it would give it probably a lot of power. But Toyota, just like in the Land Cruiser with the 1HZ, they prefer to keep the power low and reliability high.
Yes.
The other funny thing about this engine, one, it's belt driven. It runs on a timing belt, not a timing chain. And the other thing, and I would like you to share your insights about it's the engine design. It has an aluminum head and cast iron block.
Yes. You see, basically, early engines.
Yes.
This is one of the old versions of the engines.
Yes.
Wakati chuma iko bei kali.
So
they used to cast the iron. The cast iron block handles heat better. It handles heat better. And initially, there were no liners.
Yes.
For engines, okay? So what used to happen is that they used to add resistive to wear. They made it good qualities to resistive to wear so that the bore would not wear easily.
Yes.
But when you couple it with a liners, those are sleeves that you put in the engine.
Yes.
Inakuwa very durable. Like you've said, whatever happens here, it's when you have a big engine producing
low power,
that means the engine toils less.
Yes.
That makes it very, very reliable.
It makes it last longer. And now the other thing, we talked about inline 6s and balance.
Yes. On an inline 6, basically these are 4-stroke. 4-stroke means you have 4 strokes for 1 power.
Yes.
So you have 3 dead strokes and 1 power. So for this one, the engine has to rotate. For any 4-stroke engine, the engine has to rotate 2 times. See, the circle is 360 degrees.
Yes.
2 times is 720.
Yes.
Okay? So what they do, take 720, divide by the 6 cylinders.
Okay.
You get 120. 120. Now the balance is almost there. You don't have a big angle in between the pistons or crankshaft webs.
Yes.
The crankshaft webs are only 120 degrees. Rather than compare this with a smaller 3-cylinder engine, whereby you have 720, you divide against 3, you get 240. So there is a very big gap. Balance comes off. So as a straight 6 or a straight 8 will be more balanced than with fewer pistons.
Okay, so this one basically, the reason why you can even put a glass of water here, the engine does not move.
It doesn't vibrate.
It does not vibrate so much. They have eliminated noise, vibration, and harshness. NVH.
Yes.
And now we go to another thing. Let's talk about if you're buying a Toyota Mark II. Since we are at our pre-purchase inspection center, tell them.
Upper Northern Bypass.
Northern Bypass. This is where we'll be checking out the car. So what do you check out in a 1G before you buy?
Let's say not specifically on 1G.
Most engines.
On all engines.
Yes.
From here we can see clearly
leakages.
We go to visual inspections.
Yes.
Visual inspections. Look at leakages, conduits, wires, the coils. You come to leakages on the pumps, the fan, the guard. You have the alternator,
even the radiator, the battery connections.
And a easy. Now this is the engine bay we are looking at.
Yes.
This kind of leakages, huku kwa power steering, the piping on the
ABS
pump,
unit. Yeah.
the rack and pinion on the steering. That is in case this one is better because we can access and see clearly. Some of them you have to go under the carriage. You look at the pump, the AC pump, and so on.
One more thing that made these engines reliable, Mose, was that you see most modern engines, even with the Mark X's, they come with electronic throttle controls.
Yes.
Now this one had cable. So it came with the throttle control was via a cable.
Yes.
Making it, you know, I believe the less electronics you have in an engine, the electronics might be precise, but unreliable.
Very unreliable.
Mechanical parts are very reliable but might not be.
And the actuation are very slow.
Yes.
They are very slow. What makes this engine, you can manage to do roadside repairs.
Yes.
These ones. But with the modern engines, roadside repairs are quite impossible. It's flatbed to the workshop.
So this one you can actually do fast aid.
Yes,
because
not even fast aid. You can always fix it. You can always access everything. You can see, if you remove this cover, you can access the coils, the plugs, and everything.
So yeah, it was a very simple and very good engine. A good car for a first-time car owner.
Yes, very much.
A very good car for a first-time car owner. Now, since we are at our pre-purchase inspection center, let's talk about what if say Andy, our director, goes to buy a GX110 Mark II today. What should he look, or once he brings, what is the visual inspection? We start with the visual inspection, especially for these engines. One thing I know about these engines is that they leak a lot.
They leak a lot. And why they leak a lot? This is a big engine.
Yes.
6-cylinder. Once the compression goes low, the compressions goes low.
Yes.
This means that the leak pistons are leaking the vapor.
Yes.
The compression underneath the crankcase.
Yes.
So what happens? After the pressure goes low, the engine will will find vapor venting out locations.
Yes.
If you have loose tightenings and loose fittings, like maybe the top cover was not well fitted, they'll start venting from there. Since the compression from the engine goes down the crankcase, then up through the oil galleries, looking for ways to go out.
And those ways mostly are seals. And as you can see on this engine, number one, the top cover, gasket, the camshaft seals, and the crankshaft seal.
Yes.
And you can see these leakages from that particular point.
And why it's excessive like this?
Yes.
It's because what is leaking is the power. It's the explosion on top of the piston.
Yes.
Going underneath to the sump, and once the piston is going down, it follows the oil galleries up.
Yes.
And then it finds its way to vent out, because there is no way it will stay underneath there. And more is coming with the running. As the engine runs, more is going and more is going. Therefore, you'll find that you're losing oil on the engine. Every morning unapima oil,
iko chini.
Yeah. Again, you will find that the plugs are all oily.
Yes.
Because oil is coming up. So like this one, you can tell the engine is not in that pretty good condition. Yes.
But the beauty about these Toyota engines is that they were bulletproof.
Yes.
Even if you would get one leaking, you could always rebuild the engine or replace the seals.
Yes.
In a very easy way. Because these are cast iron block and an aluminium head. And it's a relatively simple engine.
Yes, and you see the best thing about the aluminium head.
Yes.
A cast iron, it does not appreciate heat that well.
Yes.
And it doesn't lose. But when you couple it with an aluminum head, through conduction, heat will flow from the what does not take it well and to what that accommodates it well. So it will come to the cylinder head where most of the water is there, and it will leave.
Nice. So basically, the other thing that you must look out for is the engine sound. Yes. Make sure it does not sound abnormally noisy.
Yes.
Yes,
but you see now, with those ones, it's all about experience.
Yes.
You can have a knock, you can have a rattle,
yes,
you can have a tap. The tapping, you see, tap,
yes.
Tap. Then it's like the rattlesnake.
Yes.
Or you can have a knock. So you have to be very careful on those sounds.
And that is why we advise guys, if you are not very experienced, bring your car for pre-purchase inspection.
Yes.
Now, we are done with the engine. And I would like us to now go to a very interesting topic, and that is the transmission, because these GX110s mostly came with a 5-speed automatic transmission.
Yes.
Mostly we know 4-speed, 6-speed, but this was actually a 5-speed auto.
Yes.
Now the engine is mounted longitudinally.
To the vehicle.
So that means this vehicle is rear wheel drive. Meelewa hiyo? Longitudinal rear wheel drive.
Yes.
And we are going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of rear wheel drive when we talk about the transmission. And I told you on this video we are going to tell you the strengths and weaknesses of this car. So when it comes to the engine, very easy to maintain, quite powerful with low end torque, very reliable and very balanced. Even with these massive leakages, the vehicle still operates very well and performs very extremely well.
Yes.
But when it comes to the engine bay, what are the weaknesses? One, the struts. That is why we are using this Kijiti. So with time, it's an old car, it's a 2002. So these will wear out, but they can just be replaced simply.
It's just remove and replace, you buy.
Yeah, you just buy new ones and just put them through. So the GX110 came with a 5-speed automatic transmission. And Mose, if you can join me on this inside the vehicle, I would like to show guys something a bit interesting.
Yes.
First of all, we must appreciate the interior of this vehicle.
And the comfort, eh?
The interior and the comfort. Look at how clean that interior is. And you see, this is a car that is 20-something years old.
Yes.
And the interior has held up. You see, with most modern vehicles, because of planned obsolescence and also they want you to buy another car, the interior was largely compromised. But now these older Toyotas had a very good interior, one that could hold up over. Imagine this car, all those years, everything works fine. But now, why we have come here, Moses, is matters transmission.
Yes.
So the Mark II GX110 comes with a 5-speed auto. And when you're buying it, there are a few things that you're supposed to check. Number 2, there is a button that most people do not understand. You see this button right here? Power ECT Snow. Now from what I know, ECT means electronically controlled transmission. Yes. So when you put this vehicle in power mode, I want you to explain maybe from a mechanic's perspective or from an engineer's perspective. So from a journalist's perspective is when you put it into power mode, what happens, it delays gears, giving you higher revs and so giving you more power on demand.
Yes.
If you put it in snow mode, this is mostly for traction, for maximum traction. So let's talk about now the mechanical perspective of when you put this car in power mode in the electronically controlled transmission.
You see, Eric, now, like in power, what did you say, like what we were discussing last time, eh?
Yes.
Power is how fast you do something.
Yes.
Power is the rate of doing work.
Yes.
So that means you would want this vehicle to perform its performance better. To accelerate faster and so on. So what did this vehicle do? It shifts at certain predetermined points by the computer, so that you don't have lag in between the shifting, and you pace up quickly, like from 0 to 60 very fast.
Yes.
ECT is electronically controlled transmission. Now this one used to work when those days. Yes. Currently we have it by default in the current vehicles. So in this time, that means this vehicle has a transmission control module that the computer uses to control the
rate of shifting.
Yes, I'll give you an example. Yes. There is something we call a kickdown.
Yes.
A kickdown, let's say you're almost overtaking a vehicle and you want to accelerate faster. You kick down the pedal. Yeah? This vehicle notices that you've kicked down the pedal, shifts down and then shifts up accordingly, and based on your power demands from the accelerator. The snow is all about traction. Traction is how hold your grip is on the rear tires. Yes. So it will monitor using the ABS system how hold it and controls the shifting. Yes. That's all you use.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, at least now, the transmission on this one was actually very reliable.
Very.
And the other thing is that back then, these automatic transmissions could be rebuilt.
They could be rebuilt. Even today, they are being rebuilt. But you know, all the automatic transmissions are very reliable.
Yes.
You know the reason why? They are constant mesh. Everything is usually meshed. What you do is just stop some other parts from moving.
Yes.
So there is no part a dog teeth that is going through another dog teeth.
Yes.
It's just running. It's constant mesh. It's always running. How you shift gears is stop some of the gears from moving, others move. Stop others, just stopping and releasing. That's why they're very reliable.
Let's go to the other thing. If you're a first-time car owner and you decide to get the GX110, there are things that you need to know how they work on the transmission shifter. You have park, reverse, neutral, D, 3, 2, and L. So basically, guys, what let me take them through. If there's anything to add on, we can add on that more. So parking, reverse, and neutral are self-explanatory.
Yes.
Drive is basically the gear that you will shift, and the vehicle will shift gradually, will upshift and downshift based on pressures.
Yes, you don't want it to go past 3.
But if you put it to 3, it means you want the car, you want like maximum torque. So it will shift from 1, 2, 3, but it cannot go beyond 3.
Yes.
Okay? Now, and then you have 2. 2, it basically means 2. You can only shift 1, 2.
Yes.
Then L is low or first gear lock-up position. So meaning it can't go above first gear. And this is what you use when you're in the
when you're stuck.
When you're stuck.
Yes.
Sawa.
Yes.
Now at least we have the shift lock is if a car stalls. Kama sasa gari haiendi, haigurumi, and you want to put it into neutral for towing or pushing purposes. So you just push in the shift lock and it goes to you can put it to neutral. To neutral, yeah, but you have to push the shift lock down.
Yes.
So that is one thing that we also have to educate this, at least the people, so that they can understand this. And I believe that you're tumeelewa. Now, when you're buying this car, pre-purchase inspection again. If you're shifting, if you want to know if the transmission is in good condition, there are things that you need to. What do you need to when you test drive this car? What do you need to feel?
Generally, they are visual.
Yes.
You go under the carriage and you look at some maybe loose fittings, screws, nuts, sockets, leakages.
Yes.
And then you can see some. So one of the gearboxes, if it's immense you are up, it's been overhauled severally, you will see by virtue of your eyes. You will use your eyes and see maybe the bolts have gone to tear where, maybe some of the silicons, you can see them so much there underlying. And then again, there are those now you can't tell unless you drive.
Yes.
From standstill, you can get hard shift. While you are standing and parked, you're trying to make it to go to drive. You find the vehicle shakes toughly, hard shifting.
Yes.
From park to drive,
you feel
it's like
boom.
Yeah, it's a kick.
In Kenya we say inagonga.
It's a kick.
Boom, when you put it into drive.
It's a kick. That means your transmission has issues.
Yes.
Again, now you can also come to while driving.
Yes.
After while driving, you'll hear vibration, loosen bolts of the propeller, because this vehicle, it's a rear wheel driven, so it's a propeller. So you'll feel some of vibrations, rattling noise, knocking inside, such things.
Okay.
Again, you can learn that it's faulty once you press the pedal and you can't see the traction here. So the vehicle is slipping. You have slippage of clutches.
Yes.
So like the rev is going up and the speed is constant. That shows that the clutches inside are worn out.
At least now you have something to know when you're doing your pre-purchase inspection. Or I keep on telling guys, if you're buying a local used vehicle and even a showroom vehicle, you can bring it to us here at our pre-purchase inspection center along the Northern Bypass, just adjacent to CVT Auto Accessories.
Yes, next to a Shaki.
Next to a Shaki.
Yeah.
Now, we have mentioned that this car is rear wheel drive. Most motor vehicle enthusiasts love rear wheel drive vehicles because of how they perform. So for me, I'll give you the advantages of rear wheel drive. One is the driving experience. It feels very, very, very good. And especially with this one, and we are going to suspension a bit more later, this one has double wishbone. So the response at the front is just mwah. The
deflections.
Yeah. And the feeling, the general feeling. And when you accelerate, you feel that push when power is transmitted to the rear wheels. However, when you go to the mud or slippery ground, it is...
there are some advantages for rear wheel. Once you're stuck, you can't steer that wheel.
That is a disadvantage.
Yes.
It's not an advantage.
That's a disadvantage. You can't steer them. Yeah. But on the advantages, these vehicles are, like a generally a front drive vehicle.
Yes.
All the weight is on the front.
Yes.
Okay. This one, it's evenly distributed, and weight ratio, Eric. The vehicle becomes very stable.
Yes.
It's very stable when moving. So drivability becomes comfort, improved, and let me say general performance equal to sawa.
Yes.
Yes, because of its rear wheel driven.
But now the other thing, and maybe I would like to pick your mind on it, is okay, let's talk. This is a very spacious vehicle, but it has one major disadvantage.
Yes.
The transmission hub here. Hump.
Yes.
So the gearbox is longitudinal, so you have to put a hump plus add something we call a propeller.
Yes.
So now when you have to transfer or transmit power through a propeller,
you have some power losses.
So there are power losses.
Yes, you have power losses. In transmission, you have power losses because you see they are dead weights.
Yes.
That is not what you want to move. You want to move the wheels, but you have to move them so that they move the wheels.
Yes.
So you are harvesting power from the engine that you were supposed to be used to move the wheels. So that's somehow the disadvantage. That's why you see the modern vehicles that consider economy are pushing more and more to front wheel.
To front wheel drive.
Yes.
That is why even we are seeing most huge vehicles go front wheel.
Yeah, go front wheel.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the sedans that are coming in with rear wheel are diminishing by the day. And even BMW has gone front wheel.
Yes.
On some of their models, and that is something that we have not seen before. Mercedes-Benz has also gone front wheel on some of their models. So what you're saying, it's true because of power losses, and we want fuel economy. And you see, again, this vehicle, it doesn't have bad fuel economy, but compared to the vehicles of today, because this one will give you around 10.
Yes.
10. If it's in good condition, kienda sana 11.5.
And you see, generally, it's not bad fuel economy. It's fuel that has gone up, the prices. The prices have gone up. Generally, when this vehicle was being produced, fuel was very cheap.
It was cheap, yeah.
Yes, most cars here are giving also 10. Most are giving 10. But with the current prices of fuel,
it become expensive to run this car.
Yes, it's a bit expensive.
Now let's talk about something. We have mentioned power losses. The other disadvantage from my perspective, and I want to hear the engineer's perspective of rear wheel drive, is there are more moving parts, so meaning it's more expensive to maintain.
Yeah, it's more expensive to maintain.
Yes.
Since you have a propeller from the transmission, you have to have seals there.
Yes.
Again, after the transmission, there is something we call you see there is deflection of the rear suspension.
Yes.
So you have to constantly maintain the speed on those motions. When the rotational motion is transferred through an angle, you have to have CV universal
joints. Yeah, universal.
And maintaining those universal joints is quite expensive. You have to grease them.
Yes.
You have to keep the rollers in check. So you have to constantly be looking at them. Again, we go to the diff. Instead, you have the crown wheel, the pinion, the sun gears, and the planetary. Then you have the drive shafts outside.
Yes.
Yes. So all those things have to be constantly checked. And now, in these older vehicles, the service, like right now, we are servicing a transmission in conjunction with a differential unit inside. These ones, you have to service the transmission. The transmission. Which is a gear fob box. And again, the diff.
The differential.
Yes, you have to service it. You have to check for wear and tear. Again, you have to refill the oil, check for leakages, empty, service it, fill new oil.
And that is something that most people who own Mark X's, Toyota Crowns, Nissan Skyline, and most Mercedes-Benzes forget.
Yes.
Servicing the diff.
Generally, the rule was initially from Jokali.
Yes.
The first service on the engine, the second, the third, the whole vehicle. Yes.
Service A, service B, service C.
Service C, the whole vehicle.
So at least now we have talked about the engine, the transmission, and now this car is praised for being very comfortable.
Yes.
I think it's high time we talked about its braking system and the suspension.
The braking system.
Yes. Let's basically this one has ABS. It had the earlier versions of ABS, but now the simple version unfortunately didn't have traction control. Or can we say the powers? No, these we can't classify these as traction control.
No.
So it was not intelligent enough. But with the coming of the Mark X, we saw traction control come into this family.
Yes. The braking system.
Yes.
Generally, this car, as we'll go and see, the braking system is brake pads.
Yes, all round, discs all round.
There are several advantages on that. Disc brakes, let's say for example, you're using the vehicle. When you press, you're using friction to stop the wheel rotation.
Yes.
Wherever there is friction, there is bound to be heat. Okay? And with the heat, if the older vehicles like those ones which had linings, the drum brakes,
yes,
used to suffer something called brake fade.
Yes.
Brake fade is when that you press the lining so tough on the drum, they form a shiny surface.
Yes.
And the friction goes away. So a long usage of that braking system may be on a drop down, a very long coast down of the road. You'll find that by the time you're on the down, the braking efficiency has gone low.
Yes.
Now, with disc brakes, you're not like, you see the drum is like a cover on the heat. So you don't lose heat very nicely. And those ones, the drums are cast. But this one, the disc brakes, they are very open. Part of the brakes is the one held, and the other space is open.
Yes.
So the cooling is very, very efficient. Again, you will see that you can increase the size of the pistons that are pressing against the disc itself. You find some of them are 4
6 ports, 4 ports and 2 ports.
Yes. The heat, generally about the heat, the caliper holds the inside and the outside. The pads hold the inside and the outside. On the drum brakes, you only press on the
inside.
On the inside.
Yes.
Therefore, these brakes are very, very, very efficient.
Okay. Now we have talked about brakes. One thing about the Toyota Mark II GX110, they came with alloy rims. And most people think that alloy rims are purely for aesthetics, but they are not. And I always tell guys, check out the Mirror vehicles. What do? They put in alloys at the front where they have brake pads and steel rims at the rear to withstand the stress of of the load. Because alloys are not very good when it comes to load and roughness.
Yes.
But they are also but they are good when it comes to cooling. So they came with alloys and that also gave them a heads up when it came to cooling.
Yes, because you see alloys have vents.
They have vents.
Yes, air ina-flow vizuri sana.
Ina-flow vizuri ndani.
Flows and collects it and dumps it as well very fast.
Sawa. So if you're driving this car, please remember to replace the rear brake pads as well, because when they wear out too much, they are likely to damage the rotors.
Yes.
So always remember that. And now I want us to talk about the suspension. Tuongee suspension hapa nje. Yes. The GX110 Mark II Grande runs on double wishbone suspension at the front, and we have come to agree at AutoConnect that we are going to be showing you these things practically so that you know what to look out for when you're buying a car. So basically, double wishbone suspension means it has an upper wish and
a
lower wish. And it has its own advantages and disadvantages. Part of the advantages is it has superior handling, and it has better articulation
and good comfort, right?
And very good comfort and also response.
Yes.
It makes the car sit better on the road. Sindio?
Yes, it gives the wheel a good traction on the road. Good traction on the road. Yes.
But part of the disadvantage is it has more moving parts. So you have more parts to replace, unlike McPherson struts. McPherson struts ni ile iko na shock absorber na lower control arm. Haina hii ya juu, haina the upper wish. Yeah. So basically this is the brake disc, this is the upper wish, this is the lower wish, and you have the shock absorber and the coil spring.
Yes.
So
okay. So we can talk about the suspension itself.
Yes.
We have the different suspensions. We have air.
Yes.
We have leaf spring. And we have coil spring.
Yes.
And we have torsion. For this case, it's the coil spring.
Yes.
This is the suspension. How are we suspending it? Using 2 arms, a lower and a up. Generally, a good suspension unit, for this car to have this good ride, for a good suspension, you have to have big wheel deflections for small road irregularities.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
When you have them and then you couple it with a damper, you see the shock is a damper.
It's a damper.
There's always an oscillation movement.
Yes.
What you do when you place a damper, if you remove this shock from here, the vehicle will soften the ride after quite at few distance,
Yes.
a few meters. But when you add a shock to it, it resists the up and the lower movement, so the oscillations die out quickly. That's why you find this vehicle has a good suspension.
Okay. And now when you're buying this vehicle, pre-purchase inspection, when you're test driving it, you need to, first of all, visual inspection, check out the bushes, if they are worn out. You have, and another thing, you have so many bushes as the front.
Yes, so many.
On these vehicles to try and prevent metal-to-metal contact. And wear.
Yes, and mark you, this is a very heavy engine at the front.
Yes.
So these ones usually get worn out very fast.
Okay.
Based on the road. If you use a rough road, oftenly if the vehicle has been used on very rough terrains,
yes,
they are going to be worn out completely. So what you check out for these rubber bushes up here, the arm itself, it gets out the ball joints, the coil springs, they might be cracked, leakage on the shocks, the rubber,
the braking points on the rubber.
The rubber again, the cushioning on the lower arm.
Yes.
And
noises.
Yes, the link. The link, and there's a few wear and tear maybe on the arm, maybe this is cracked. The brake linings.
So basically, and even the good thing is that some of these things will always give you noise.
They will always complain.
They'll always complain when you're test driving them.
Yes.
So now we are done with the front suspension, which is a double wishbone suspension.
Yes.
I want us to talk about the rear suspension, which is basically independent suspension.
Yes, again, but you can add,
yes,
from this one, you're going to see that this caliper is bigger as we go behind.
Yes.
This is due to when you brake,
yes,
more weight transfers comes to the front.
Yes.
So this vehicle needs more braking efficiency on the front rather than on the rear.
Oh, that is why most vehicles have larger front brake pads as opposed to...
Yes, you need more braking force in the front.
Okay.
There is weight transfer.
Yes.
Yes, that's why you see. So when you go back on, you're going to see that the piston is small and the pads are
a bit smaller.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Let's check out the rear suspension. So ideally, it's a double wishbone independent rear suspension.
Yes.
Yeah, because you have an upper wish, an upper control arm, and a lower control arm.
This one. Now, let me tell you about the independent suspension. Normally, when you have beam,
yes,
a beam like
live axles,
Suzuki Gypsy, Suzuki Sierra,
yes,
and Land Rover Defender, you will find that if one wheel deflects, it will affect
the other wheel.
The independent suspension is quite a good invention. Deflection of one wheel does not affect
deflection of the other wheel.
Now, if this vehicle is a rear wheel driven vehicle, that means regardless of the road legalities, this wheel will always have traction.
Yes.
Itasonga and it will not affect the other one.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a very good invention. Now here we come. You can see
the smaller brake pad.
Yes. The smaller brake pad is here. This one is generally because you need more braking efficiency just when you are reversing. And you see, when you are reversing, you are not at higher speeds.
You are not at high speeds at all.
Yes. That's when you have weight transfer on the rear.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing, the other disadvantage about the Mark II and even the Mark X, the Toyota Crown, is that you have a lot to maintain on the rear suspension.
Yes.
There is so much.
Yes, and this vehicle is not meant for heavy carriage.
Yes.
Yeah, it's light, very light carriage.
But the vehicle itself is heavy as well.
Yes, very heavy.
Sawa. So anyway, let's talk about something very interesting, Mose, and that is value for money. Now, if you're buying this car as locally used, you will be spending around 500,000 on this vehicle. And we have seen this vehicle is very reliable. This vehicle is a performer. It is very comfortable. And also it's a looker. Igari in a kapoa. And it's very spacious. And 500,000 is a very good deal for a Toyota Mark II GX110.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the weak points of this car, because I believe it's very good to have a balance. Ndio ule msi ananunua ajue the value for money implication of this car. So value for money, if you compare it to modern cars or to smaller cars like the Toyota Corolla Axio, it has worse fuel economy.
Yes, it has worse fuel economy.
The fuel economy is not the best, but it has better fuel economy compared to a Mark X GX110. So it has better fuel economy compared to a Mark X. But it will give you the same feeling that a Mark X will give you. I would like to surprise you on something, Mose. The mileage on this unit is 330,000 kilometers.
Yeah, it could be. And you know why?
The genuine mileage on it is actually 330,000.
Do you know Toyota were the first ones to clock 1 million?
Actually, so many Toyota engines have clocked 1 million,
Yes.
especially their diesel engines.
This is a very reliable one. It's a very reliable. Toyota is the one which noticed that their vehicles are going past 1 million. In fact, they go to 1 million and come back and start counting.
Look at the matatus we have on our roads. The Toyota Hiace 5Ls. They clocked 1 million kilometers. And they are still on the road.
Yes.
And one thing about this car, even at 330,000 kilometers, this car is still very comfortable and very smooth to run.
And I can tell you still have a long way to go with it.
It's basically it's new. It's new. So guys, I hope this has been an insightful episode, and remember, we have filmed this at our pre-purchase inspection center along the Northern Bypass, adjacent to CVT Auto Accessories. And so if you want a pre-purchase inspection done for either a showroom vehicle or a locally used unit, you can bring it to us. You will find us here, Moses and I, and we will be able to give your car a thorough check.
Yes.
And also, come on, contribute towards production of this content. There is a link there, www.tinypesa.com/Wakabi. And if you want to call us for any consultation or to book a pre-purchase inspection, kuna email kwa description na kuna namba hapo. Sawa sawa?
Usinunue gari kama mbuzi.
Usinunue hata mbuzi msee uangalia meno.
Those days are gone.
They are gone.
Days are gone.
Yes.
There's so many things to look out.
Let us have your car checked. Let's have a thorough check.